because if you're lucky enough to have the money sitting in the bank to buy a franchise, then you've worked pretty hard to do that. The way to get something brilliant out of those things is to understand how to use prompts to get it to do what you want. But if you're not somebody that actually understands what that well-crafted story and what the purpose of it is, then you're not going to know how to prompt it to give you the right answer. You're just getting blur. A lot of I think the platforms, like the portals, are getting much better now at being an actual hub of information rather than just a directory of listings. I've name-checked them once already, and because we won their award. Did
you win their award? Hi Andy, welcome to the first ever outdoor broadcast of the Franchise Marketing Show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for inviting us to sunny.
Yeah, it is normally.
Really?
Yeah, trust me, honestly. Just not today. But we can edit that out.
Well, try and put the sun in. Mark, can you put the sun in, please?
Yes. You can do anything, that boy.
So, we are here to chat about all things. All things.
All things.
Yeah.
Right.
For people who don't know who you are, who are you?
Andy McCarroll, head of marketing at Platinum Way Franchising. Been doing franchising for 15 years, pretty much all of that marketing and recruitment. And I, like you, quite like putting pen to paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people freak out when they see a blank page.
It's an opportunity.
I agree.
You can start with doodles. It doesn't matter, just put something down on the page.
Yeah. So, Andy, we're living in a technological kind of world. Why do you think it's important for people to still put pen to paper?
Because technology can't write stories, I think. So, yeah, all the great stories come from pen on paper or just people talking. So it's kind of the same thing, really.
Yeah, yeah.
You write it down so people that weren't there when you said it can read it. Yeah, it's storytelling. That's what marketing is, really, at its heart. And I think that a blank page is a challenge. So if you're going to write something down, you're probably going to make an effort to make it worth reading. And let's face it, there's a lot of stuff. No, it's not worth reading.
There's so much stuff.
Not that I'm bringing you to your pet subject. Or
you lead me straight in there.
Well, it's cool.
So, what is the value of storytelling when it comes to recruitment and marketing and franchising?
Well, it's everything. Because, how many franchises are there supposed to be in the UK?
There's over 1,000. Yeah.
1,009 or 1,090 or something. Well, I reckon I could name 200, maybe 250 at a push.
Go on then, go.
No. But, I don't know who the other 750 are.
No.
I think I'd struggle to do that. So and that's somebody in the industry. So if you are somebody that wants to buy a franchise, and presumably all 1,000 of them are marketing themselves in some way and looking for franchisees, then they've got to be different. They've got to tell a story about why them, if you've got that much choice. And so many brands working in similar sectors, yeah, what's the difference? Like, there has to be a story, even with, the food brands. McDonald's, massive worldwide, burgers, but it still has to tell a story. And if it has to tell a story to its customers, and it has to tell a story to franchisees why you would want to come and do that. And a lot of that is obviously the strength of the business model and the returns and all that kind of stuff. But there should be I was going to say why, but that's...
No, there should be. Yeah, no, but that's what people understand, isn't it? That why.
I think particularly in the franchises that are not as big as those, it's really, really important to know who started it, why they started it, what was the problem they were trying to solve, what's good about their product or their service, and what it's going to be like for a franchisee to come and be a part of that. And I think if you can imagine that every single one of those thoughts. So a good place to start might be like the Elite Franchise Top 100.
Yeah.
It's quite recent, topical. So
Are you saying that because you won?
I wasn't going to mention that, but thanks for bringing it up. Supplier of the Year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Like you weren't going to mention it.
Like my hangover today was due to celebrating it yesterday. But yeah, so that would be quite a good place to start. But if you imagine that those top 100 cover quite a lot of sectors. But if you're just somebody that's looking into franchise first time, and all those brands just sound the same, perhaps maybe because they've not found a person to help them put pen to paper or put pens to paper themselves, then it's just a bunch of names. And that's not enough to sell what you've got.
No.
It's still an element of, if you have to think about why people are coming into franchising, it's they want a business of their own, but they maybe haven't thought of an idea, or the idea of running a business single-handed terrifies them. Then that's the beauty of franchising. You come in and it's a proven model and you've got people to train you and support you and all these good things. But you still have to imagine then what it's going to be like to be on that journey with them. You're going to be doing it for at least 5 years, hopefully 10, 15, 20. So you want to know about franchisees that are already doing it. And I think that has to be real. It has to come from, and do you know what? It doesn't matter if it's badly written, really. Like, not to tell the story. Give you
mean initially?
Yes, but it can be, you can find people to help you with that. But I think the idea of just not tell, without a story, what is just figures?
It's just words.
It's just figures of go, well, you give us this and we'll give you that and we'll help you out along the way. And that's not very inspiring. And I certainly don't think it's enough to get somebody to part with a lot of money, particularly today, because if you're lucky enough to have the money sitting in the bank to buy a franchise, then you've worked pretty hard to do that, and it's quite a risk to do it. So you really need a full picture. And I don't think you're going to part with that unless you really believe what this brand is about, that these people fit with you, that you're going to fit with them, and that's important to the storytelling. You've got to be inspired to do it, to take that risk, because it is a risk. It's a much lower risk than starting your own business by like a factor of 10, but nothing's risk-free.
Right.
And the story's massively important. And even if you just look at it from a commercial point of view, you've got to give somebody a reason to choose you over your competitors. So even if you just take it back to brass tacks, that's what you stand out in. That's what makes your brand different. And it's also part and parcel of what keeps customers coming to you. There is a difference. Even, if you look at burger franchises or pizza franchises, there's something demonstrably different about each one. Even if the kitchens might look the same and the menus might look kind of the same, but there has to be something. There's a reason why brands become successful, why people want to join them.
So have you seen, not necessarily in franchising, but for yourself, have you seen a good enough story that you've really bought into it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Thanks.
I don't think I've got an answer. I can't. No, not really. Not in terms of products, I don't think. What
about companies?
Probably Apple back in the day.
Okay.
This one that I was just like, I love how inventive it is, how creative, how completely different it was to what anybody else was doing. So
BlackBerry, do you remember the BlackBerry?
I do remember BlackBerry. Yeah. But it shows how quickly we come on. But I love them for the design and stuff. I liked that. Maybe I bought into a lot of the nonsense. I'm not a big fan of them now, particularly, but like everybody, I've got an iPhone in my pocket, got one on my lap. You've got one sucked in.
I've got one.
Here today, one.
I know.
So, yeah,
they're everywhere.
It's Apple's world. But yeah, I think stories like that. But it's more. I'm trying to think of. Do you know what? It's more probably music would be the thing.
Okay.
Stories, because that is storytelling, isn't it?
Yeah.
A
good song.
It used to be. Yeah, good songs. So yeah, I think that's where that kind of thing's had the most impact on me, is because I've really bought into who was writing songs.
So obviously the storytelling element, it brings in that emotional connection with the reader, and that's something that I talk about a lot, especially when it comes to like award writing and content creation. It has to stand out and connect on that emotional level to really hit someone in the heart or like where they're at. How does someone go about doing that? Obviously, you and I know how to do that quite easily.
Yes, for good and evil. But
don't talk about the evil.
no, well, it's got to start with, there has to be some sort of premise. It has to start with some sort of spark. And if we're to look at it from a franchising point of view, that starts with what's the truth of your business, and that's a much better place. I think most people will go down the route of what story can I tell about my business that's going to make people buy it, and that is essentially what business is. It's we're in it to make money. But I think to get that kind of commitment for somebody to buy into your franchise, it takes a bit more than that. And the best way to sell it is honestly. Start with what you've actually got, because if you sit with that blank page and you literally can't think of a single reason or genuine reason for somebody to buy it, then you should be doing something else, or go back to the drawing board and make the business better. And then, have a story. There has to be a reason somewhere in that. But I think so for somebody to do it that doesn't like writing or is really terrified by that page, then I think people should it's starting with why you set the business up. So like start with the actual founder of the business, the why. There's always a reason why somebody's done it. They either invented something brand new, or they've had something and thought, I can do this better. So they figure out a way to do that. Or it's a service where something's happened. And there's loads of amazing stories in franchising like this, with something's happened in their life, often negative, and they've gone, I want to do something about this. So they create something. Mini First Aid, if we're naming brands, comes immediately to mind as something that, that's a phenomenal business that does huge good. And I've spoken to quite a few of the franchisees and they love what they do. So that's really inspiring. But if you just sell that on the basis of, well, what we do is we do this, we do that, it's great. But we hear the whole story. That's something that people want to be inspired by and get involved in. But more than that, so people buying franchises don't make the decision that just themselves. They'll talk about it with their friends, their family, their accountant, their lawyer. They'll take advice. But there has to be, so for that, you can't just say, if you're running a prospectus or something, there has to be a story. More than the accountant might just go, well, how much, what's the franchise fee? What's the royalty? What do you get for that? Blah, blah, blah. What's the return on investment? That kind of stuff. But I think if you're trying to convince your wife or your boyfriend or whatever about it, there has to be a story.
They want to know more.
And a quite clear story that you can sit down and actually go, right, I found this brand. This is what I love about it. Let me tell you all about it. So you have to pass that story on, that then becomes something that somebody's like, right, I think this is it. So I'm just going to check it with my nearest and dearest and tell that story, and then tell it again and tell it again. And then when you get to the point of going to sit down with that franchisor, with their team, you're kind of expecting to hear that story again. I don't mean they literally sit and retell the whole story, but you need to go, in my mind, this is who these people are. So you want to see that you're like, hang on, have I just fallen victim to a phenomenal storyteller, great copywriter, or is this genuinely what it is? And people will be able to tell very quickly if it genuinely is what it is, which is why you start with the truth. And honestly, if your truth's not good enough, you're not ready to do it yet. I think.
Which is that authentic element that people buy into because they can relate to it and they can hear the passion and the emotion behind it. Rather than just like, oh, buy a franchise and you can make lots of money and become a millionaire. Which but
you can, and for a lot of people, it doesn't really matter. If the goal is simply, I want to make as much money as possible to retire at 50 or whatever, then pick that one. Don't pick the one that, you do half your work for free and you're doing loads of good in the community and that kind of stuff. If your absolute aim is just the money, then. But the story, there still has to be a story about why that business,
why that one over another one.
This is going to be the one for you. It doesn't have to be we're changing the world and doing good. And I mean, that's great if that's the kind of franchise you're looking for. And there are ones out there that do both. You can become very successful off the back of something that's a really feel-good service or product. But,
so in terms of like, you know, when we were talking about what makes a good story, neither of us talk about the structure and the kind of the way it's laid out, which is coming to my pet peeve, which is how AI would treat a story. It would just look at the structure rather than like the content so much. Why is it better to use a person to tell a story? Andy, of course it is.
Of course it is. Well, why do you think of course it is?
Because it's that human element. Storytelling has always been a human thing. You know, back in the day, people would sit around at the campfire with their bones of broth and tell a story around the campfire. I mean, as kids, like some of the stories that I remember, like hit a chord when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I still remember them now. Like The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is still one of my favourite stories, even as an adult. And there were other stories that you just kind of really connect with. And someone can talk about like Meg and Mog and you kind of know the story. And, you know, there's just elements of it. It touches something within the human spirit.
Well, all right. That's because there's an element of originality in it. Somebody has had this idea to tell a story, and from that becomes this fantastical adventure that resonates with people. Or is just so completely different that people are like, well, that's mind blown. That's great. I'm going to read it again. So why is it better to use? Why can technology not do that?
Because it doesn't think in human terms.
Well, it can do it. It just can't do it well.
No.
But my concern is, like a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have said, yeah, but it can't do it well. And that would have been the end of, that was my thinking on it. Now, seeing how far it comes along, I don't think that I think it probably will get to the point that it will do. I think a lot of filmmakers are terrified of it. Songwriters are terrified. Novelists are up in arms and everybody's freaking out. And they're actually right to do, because essentially these models are just nicking everybody's stuff.
Exactly. It's just steal things.
Spitting it back out again. That's not to say it's not useful. But if we're to... Oh, it does have its use. Honestly, it does. But it's how you use it. But that's what I think. Like, so if we... if I couldn't do this today because it's too cold, and I just said, right, well, send me the questions and we'll just do it as like an interview. I mean, you would have said no, but I would have said no. That you did. You sent me like 15 questions about franchise marketing or storytelling, whatever. And then I just sat down and went, do you know what, I'm going to really got time for this, and just fed the questions to GPT.
I was very disappointed in you.
But what I mean is, it would come up with something, and I could just go, oh, well, I'll do. But I would only do that if I had no interest really in sharing the answers. So if you knew me, as you do,
which I do,
you'd be like, what's this? And you'd be like,
I wouldn't use those words, but yeah, and I have called you out before. Copy and paste.
Well, that's reusing original content.
I know, but I still called you out.
You do, and you're right to do it. But it's, what I mean is, but if you didn't know me, you might be like, okay. But I'd very much like there would be anything in it that would be remotely inspiring or of any interest to you. You'd be like, oh, I heard this guy was supposed to know about marketing. It turns out just blah, blah, blah. It's the same stuff that everybody else is talking about. But you would know straight away, because you know me, he's winding me up. He's not done this. But if you're somebody that... So I would take those questions and I would want to answer, because that's what I do. I like answering questions. I like working things out, and I like writing. Don't like talking very much, but I like writing stuff down. So I would see it would be an absolute waste of my time not to do that. So, but if you're not somebody that enjoys the craft of writing something, then you might be tempted to use that. The sensible way to use it is not that, because then you're just sharing nonsense. It's not literally you've been asked for your thoughts on something and you've not shared your thoughts. You've just gone, here's a tool, I'll use its thoughts, which is just whatever
it's an amalgamation of everyone else's.
So you are just then relying on it to pull out the best of other people's ideas and then frame them as your own. And I don't think anybody buys into that at all. But if you were terrified of writing, but you sat down and you got your 10 questions and you answered them as best you could, and then you went, hey, GPT, Claude, whatever, this is really badly written. I don't want to sound like an idiot. Help me to make it better, right? I still wouldn't do that because, well, I'd be rubbish at my job if I had to do that. I like the process. But I totally understand why somebody might go, right, this might help me clean this up a little bit, or what I'm trying to say is this, or use it to kind of maybe make something a little bit more concise. And I understand why people do that. But the more you use it in that way, the more it's just stripping away what your actual answers are. So I would much rather read something that was, terrible grammatically, spelling mistakes, I'd far rather read that if I'm getting an idea of
the human behind it.
Because it's like writing stuff's a skill.
Yeah.
And I think you can develop it, but I think it is generally something that you're like, this is something I'm quite interested in, I'm quite good, or it might be the first thing in school that the first teacher that goes, yeah, that's quite good, actually. You're awful at maths and you can't do physics.
Yeah.
But this is
Geography,
quite well
what?
So that might be what keeps you going. But I think it's a minority of people that actually like doing that. And I do think, and I think I might have said this to you last night. I don't remember everything I said last night. That the people that are employed like us in marketing it's one of the things we do, but is copywriting. And I think, therefore, those are the people that currently are trying to go, okay, well, what is this LLM going to do? How is it going to help? I think we established that we don't need it. And I think that no matter how many other people try to use it, they will never really use it properly because they don't understand what the end result should look like. So therefore, the prompting isn't very good. So the way to get something brilliant out of those things is to understand how to use prompts to get it to do what you want. But if you're not somebody that actually understands what that well-crafted story and what the purpose of it is, then you're not going to know how to prompt it to give you the right answer. You're just getting blah. And there's an awful lot of blah out there. And you're not, and so you've got 1,000 franchise brands all using ChatGPT.
All some the same.
Who's going to be able to pick a franchise out of that? You will just become
No.
annoyed. Nothing's going to stand out except for maybe the handful that still use copywriters, or where the founder really loves to take charge and write their story and tell their story and inspire people. And they then can actually match that up when people come to meet them. So I think it's massive. It's way more impressive than I thought it was going to be. But I don't think it's as big a threat because I think it could never really be used to... It can be used to help with speed. It can help you maybe make your ideas a bit more concise, but it can't create your story for you.
No.
And I don't think people... The thing is, the main reason to use AI is to speed up, whether it's a bot that takes bookings on your website, and the uses of it are phenomenal. We've done some stuff with lovely Theo recently, and it's like mind-blowing what he's come up with. I'm yet to be convinced it's definitely better than being on the phone with a human, but it's really, really, really impressive stuff. But what that's doing is you ask questions and you get an honest answer because it's not making it up. It's been fed the real information, and it'll impart that information and then invite you to, book a phone call. So ultimately, it all ends up in the same place with the person. I don't think anybody's buying a franchise. You're not going to give Claude your bank details and pay for a franchise.
No.
And not that any good franchisor would sell one that way, but ultimately it still comes back to a person. So it's really just a tool to save time. But to use it properly takes a lot of time. It's like a whole other tool that you've got to learn. It's just a bit like, I've got a computer, so all I have to do is open it. Well, no, you need to actually learn how to use the thing. So I think it's the same way. So if people are just obsessed with time saving, they're not going to put the effort in to learn how to use it to any great effect, and will always come back to somebody that can help them do it. And then ultimately, if you've got kind of the point I just made of 1,000 brands 950 are just telling the same generic story.
Yeah.
If the 50 that are the ones that are going to stand
front
out.
out.
So then the other 950 are going to be like, hang on a minute, why are we not selling any Well, nobody's coming to us. Everybody's buying those ones. What are they doing? Oh, they're not cheating.
Yeah.
They're doing it properly. So therefore, it'll come back. But yeah, I don't hate it the way you hate it, but
That's because
there's a place for it.
Yeah, I agree there is a place for it. I know everyone assumes that I just completely blanket hate AI. I hate it for content creation.
Yeah.
And I hate it for that reason. I know we've spoken and you use it for research. Research is something that I'm passionate about and I love doing and I can do it really easily, but I know not everyone can do that.
Yeah. Well, I do it because it speeds up. I use it to help me do the things that I'd be doing. So I'm not going, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, help kind of thing. I know exactly what it is that I'm trying to do. And I've taken time to figure out how to help it find those things more quickly. But you can't, if somebody's paying you to do some work and then you're just going, yo, Claude,
that's the unethical bit. Yeah.
Well, you've cheated them because they've not asked for Claude's opinion because they could do that for themselves.
Yeah.
Right? No, they might not be able to do it as well as somebody that really knows how to use that and understands prompting. So that you might still give them something much better, but they've asked for your presumably expert opinion on something, and that's what they're paying for. There's absolutely no problem in using stuff to speed up elements of research, but you've still got to go and check it. So you still be like, okay, well, that's brilliant. Where'd you find this? Give me the links. And then you still have to go in. So ultimately, it's not as big. It's only a massive time saver if you're like, that'll do. And you don't check it.
That's why I'd rather just do the research myself.
It is. If you've got time to do it, I definitely have found. I remember the first time that I sat down with ChatGPT forever ago, like this GPT 2 or 3, I think, and I tried. Didn't really understand prompting or anything like that, and I just said, right, let's see if this can just do my work for me, kind of thing. And it started off, and I honestly was blown away by what it came. Suddenly the speed of it appearing in front of you, and I was like, this is insane. And then straight away it's like, well, let's be out of a job then. And then the more it kept going, I was thinking, no, in fact, that's our entire company out of a job. That's everybody out of a job. This is crazy. And then I looked at it, and it was nonsense. It looked really good. It sounded really plausible. But then I would start going in and going, well, that's not the franchise fee for that. No, that's the other brand. That's the competitor brand you're talking about. And it was just absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
So then suddenly, if you sat there and you've had 10,000 words thrown at you, well, then you've got to go through all that. And so no way is that a time saver. You'd be much better just doing it the right way. But if you've got your own structure anyway of how you do the reports, then it can be a time saver. But you still have to check everything,
which people don't. I've seen that in the awards, and I've spoken about this before.
Yeah.
The amount of awards when I was reading the EWIF awards this year, they were literally copy and pasted, and I'm like, I've forgotten which brand I'm reading because it all sounds the same. Yeah. And that's what's happening in awards. That's what's happening for social media. You forget what brand you're looking at because it just sounds exactly the same as everything else.
It does, and I think there's a real, because I think we unfortunately are in a that'll do world.
Yeah, I hate it.
Really, really
I hate it.
And people don't always have, well, I was going to say people don't always have the luxury of time, and they don't. But I think if something's worth doing, it's worth finding.
Especially if you're trying to promote your brand and your franchise, and you want to connect with the people who are looking at buying your franchises, then surely that should be worth the investment of your, or a human person time element.
Completely. If it's, if you're selling a copywriting franchise and it's very badly written, you're right at the gate.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're selling a theatre school franchise, maybe that should probably be quite artistically.
That needs to be very creative. And accountancy is like,
the numbers have got to work. But what I mean is that it's less important that you don't need to sit and read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like, it doesn't have to be.
No, everyone should read that.
Everyone should read it. But what I'm saying is that it doesn't. it doesn't have to be as good as you worry about it being, but what it needs to be is true and tell a story. But people don't. This is what annoys me about social media for business. Well, social media in general, right across the board. But and do you know why? Do you know what it is? I'm going to fall out with anybody else.
Do it. Go on.
It's because people don't. It's all nonsense.
Yeah.
It's what people want to just go. Well, look at me. This is great. And I've seen people that I know and love and go, oh, what? That's not you. What are you doing? And it can completely off people. So it's better to just not see the output and enjoy them in real life. But it's not people see it for business as just a place to shout and then retreat, as if it's like a free place to advertise. And that is still how the majority of people see it. And like, so I think of an analogy. Like, if you go to a pub and say the pub is the social media place, the pub is LinkedIn, and you want to be a part of a community of people to buy franchises or talk about franchises, well, never mind, whatever it is, then to do that, go to the pub 2 or 3 times a week, 4 times a week, if you can afford it. Go in, talk to people, be nice to the bar staff, join the conversation. Don't raise your voice and don't offer people outside for a fight when you disagree with them. Become part of it. And then you will become part of it, right? Mm-hmm. If you just go to the pub door, open it, yell something and walk off, you're not part of that.
No.
What you didn't see is that when the doors closed, everybody went, who's that? Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It's not. So you can go knocking on doors on all the pubs, shouting your message in, but you're not a part of this. You're not a regular at least. But, I had a great night out last night. I shouted through the door 17 pubs. And I think people are kind of a bit like that with social media. It's like, throw out my message and then go back to doing what I was doing. And, well, there's no engagement. You're not learning anything. No. You're not sharing anything. You're not becoming a voice. You're not that guy, somebody's talking about this football team.
Yeah.
It would be good if Andy was here because he knows all about that football team. I know nothing about any football team. But
why did you mention football then?
No. But you become, so within that community, you become, there are voices within any pub of that. He knows, he loves this kind of music. He loves that kind of music. She's into this football team or whatever it is. That's how you build a community of kind of experts and voices where you go to learn about stuff. But if you're just the person who's shouted through the window or at the door, then it's nothing to do with you. I'm not saying that analogy really works. But
no, it does, because to kind of that's on my microphone. I'm getting my microphone. I'm not going down my top. To stick with that analogy, you've got people in the pub all standing on their own individual chairs, shouting into the room. Everyone's shouting at the same time, but it's just noise and nothing can be heard. It's just noise. It's just it's overwhelming sometimes.
And the reason that all those people are stood on the chairs shouting is because they've got no interest in what anybody else has to say.
Yeah.
So nobody's hearing anything, and noise is exactly the word. Noise. Yeah. The art of what you really want to do is we get above the noise.
Yeah.
Be the first one there. And then that, is the person who then brings a megaphone in. So you might hear them over everybody else. But if they're talking
still
nonsense,
noise. Yeah, it's still noise.
You don't really care.
Which comes down to the purpose of the content that we create is not about the brand, it's about the end reader. Yeah. It's about the person reading. And if you're not listening to where people are at, if you're not listening to what people want, the information that people want to know. At the moment, we're living in a very unstable society, and people are not quite as quick to buy a franchise at the moment. I don't know if you've seen that, but we're seeing that a lot.
Definitely not.
And so it's about understanding where people are at and using the story to connect and relate to where they're at, to bring them on the journey with you, because they're on their own journey. You've done your journey. They're on their journey. So it's using that story to connect with them and to bring them alongside you.
Yeah. But importantly, what you just said, you've got to be telling it in the right place.
Yeah.
So
with the right person in mind.
Football, go to a football pub, don't go to a music pub, because they're going to go, shh, stop talking about football, listen to them.
But even within that, if you're wanting to speak to someone with music, there's a difference between speaking to someone who's into folk and country compared to gospel, compared to grunge, compared to whatever. You've got to choose the right audience and speak to where they're at in a language that they understand so that they can connect with you.
I think it's, the social, I think people forget the social aspect of what social media is supposed to be for. I mean, I don't engage with social at all, sitting.
That's too people-y.
But if you, like, it's about sharing.
Yeah.
So if you want your content to get traction, then people need to engage with it, because that's what the algorithm's looking for. What's popular? What are people sharing? God, this has got 46 comments underneath. Not so much the likes.
No, it's not about that anymore.
But it's much more, right, this has got loads of comments and it's been reposted 20 times.
And it's been shared directly to different people. It's all that kind of stuff.
So that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
If you just, like, if you're, right, GPT, I want to put 2 things out a day on LinkedIn and I want to talk about this, go and just write me some stuff. It'll do it. But you're only going to do that if you're of the mindset of, I'm just doing this because I've been told I have to do it.
Yeah.
So the stuff goes out and you're not really bothered.
Yeah.
You only check to see if it's got any likes. You're not really,
Yeah.
or people go, oh, that's good, but you don't go, thanks very much, that's brilliant.
There's no response.
What did you like about it? Well, blah, blah, blah. Like that kind of stuff. It's supposed to be a social thing. And if you do want to reach an audience, you have to put something out there that is worth
people reading.
I think 50%, like, 40% of people on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a brilliant place and it's a really, really good tool for franchise recruitment. But 40% of people on there are probably recruiters. 10% of people are looking for a job. And 50% of the people are the people that are posting on it to go check in to see who's liked their post.
Yeah.
And that's honestly how I look at it. But do you know what, but 10% of LinkedIn audience is a massive
It's a big, it's a big amount.
So
yeah.
it's absolutely a great place to be. But it's not just, I don't think it's good enough to just talk about your brand. I mean, that's the main thing you should be talking about. But you want to be part of, like, you're part of an industry, you have a voice, you have thoughts, share that, and that's part of what people buy into. Because it's that thing of, difference between maybe going to, like, a pub that plays music and people are talking about music versus going to a gig. If you've gone to a gig and bought a ticket to see Foo Fighters, then you've come to listen to Dave Grohl sing and listen to Foo Fighters, not chat to your mates. Although this is why
so many people say that. Oh, it's so frustrating. Yeah.
You wouldn't hear them anyways during Foo Fighters, but choir was, it drives me mad.
Yeah. So
there's a difference there because it's a bit like going to a lecture. Like you're
going to listen,
or whether it's with money or your time, to listen to somebody that you've come to understand is this is something I want to hear, if it's an artistic thing, or this is something that I need to understand, if it's an intellectual thing or a business thing, versus I just want to go for a chat. But people that want to maybe learn about music, franchising, or basket weaving, pottery,
basket weaving, what's that?
So if you're part of to go to the pub analogy of the pub being the social media place, you want to be one of the people who has got opinions, that actually understands quite a lot about whatever that pub speciality is, or whatever. So if you want to stand out as a franchisor, and you want to be part of those conversations on something like LinkedIn, so it's not just my brand is this, my brand is that. You want to be like talking about franchising and why it's really good. Talk to people about, and like, this is what I like about a lot of I think the platforms, like the portals, are getting much better now at being an actual hub of information rather than just a directory of listings. I've name checked them once already, and because we won their award, but so what?
Did you win their award? Wow, congratulations, she says through gritted too.
But what I like about that is you've got loads and loads of people on there not necessarily just selling their business, but talking about franchising. So if you're interested in learning about it, that's somewhere that I hope you would find, thanks to Google or ChatGPT. You get directed to it, and then you're going to hear from loads of people across the industry. You're going to hear franchisees that are just telling their actual story that you can identify with and be like, well, if she can do it, I reckon I can do it.
Yeah.
She's quite like me, he's quite like me. And you'll hear franchisors that are going, the trouble at the minute is it's quite hard to get funding, or it's quite hard or it's hard to find a good lawyer, or it's hard to find, and they're giving you information because they want you to learn about this thing. They're not selling to you, they're an expert. And if you find a place that's full of actual experts who are not selling, because people don't want to be sold to.
No.
They want to take on loads,
Especially
and
in
loads
the
of information,
UK.
especially in the UK. But I think the people that stand out are the people who just kind of give, and rather than sell.
Yeah.
They want to, because, and again, if the same few people keep popping up that are like, hang on, this is more kind of thought leadership on franchising.
Yeah.
Then, and the guy's got his own franchise, then you're far more likely to be around. This guy really knows what he's doing, really, really credible. And then, so it could well have been something that they wrote about a completely different topic, unrelated to selling their franchise, just about the sector. And then you think, right, this person's an expert in their sector, thought leader in their sector, very successful business. And then you can find out about their backstory, what they did before, why they set it up, the founder story, and then you go into front. Like at that point, you're like really quite likely, if this is your cup of tea and you're qualified, you've got the financials work, it takes that to sell.
It does.
Well, because it's not just obviously about selling a franchise. Still, I think in the UK we can still say kind of that it's not just about shifting units, because an unsuccessful franchisee will cost you way more than if you hadn't have taken them on in the first place. The franchise fee does not make up for 4 years of not getting any royalties because the person was a really terrible fit and you shouldn't have gone near them in the first place. So I think that's to go back to the start of this, which we start with, be honest about it, is that you're trying to I think this is a massive difference with franchise recruitment versus a lot of other types of recruitment, or just like selling a phone contract. If somebody phones you up and sells you a phone contract, they don't think about you after you've done the sale, you get your commission, you move on. You're never going to think, I really hope that this one is the right one for Mrs. Jones and that she's really, really happy. I'll give her a call on Friday and see, like, it's done. You're just selling units, and that's fine, I guess. But if you want somebody to join your franchise network and become successful, because you won't be making any money if they're not successful, and then inspire the other people in the network to work harder, and more importantly, inspire new people to come in, then, it's never worth just selling a franchise to somebody that's got the money. Never. And you won't get the perfect fit unless you understand exactly who it is you're looking for. We talk, franchisee avatars and all these different ways that we use to discuss it. But
awkward.
Edit that out, Mark.
Andy throwing his microphone around.
Passion for my subject. Sorry about that. Here it is. 1 minute. What am I saying? That's quite a moment, that. I think, it's got to start with honesty, and you've got to put that, franchise like avatars and stuff. It's about, before you can market anything, you have to understand not only what it is you've got, but who you're trying to sell.
Who you're talking to.
Because that, whatever beautiful message you create, it has to go in front of the people that actually need to hear it. And you can and it's very, very expensive to just advertise to everybody.
Yeah.
It needs a lot more smarts to advertise to the right people, and they're much harder to find. But that's the ball game.
But it's what you do in real life, isn't it? You have a conversation with someone, you can quickly, if you're quite savvy, you can quickly work out the kind of person they are to know how to connect with them. And like, I remember having conversations with people, and the next time I have a conversation, they've remembered something from the conversation, or I've remembered something about them, and you kind of build on that. You don't just like talk at them. Well, some people do just talk at you, but it's a conversation. Like, we're having a conversation. And sometimes like content creation that's used for recruitment or for promoting a brand, it is just kind of talking at someone, and there's not that communication.
No.
Whereas,
and it doesn't. But, elements of the overall pitch will just be the information.
Yeah, so, it has to be,
it's
but
it's
not all the time.
That if you've got to the part of the story where it's the figures,
that's different.
Don't waffle. Don't get to bottom.
Don't hide the figures.
Why are you not telling me this? I've quite clearly asked, what is...
Oh, my days,
So you have to be upfront about that, but understand that there's a whole process, and those are the things that people help them make their final decision. Because then they've literally got to put their hand in their pocket and pull some money out.
Yeah.
But that's not what pulls them in. Because, and particularly people that are new, like exploring franchise opportunities for the first time, don't know the difference between franchise fees or
No.
they don't, because you could look and go, oh, hang on, it's 20 grand to buy that, not naming names, but big name fast food brand. You'd be like, wow, that's amazing. I thought they were really expensive. Well, it is. It's
Yeah, because there's more of it.
It's not the total cost. It's just a franchise fee. But most people don't kind of know that. So those aren't the things, those aren't the numbers that, because, you know, if you go, well, this one says it's a 7% royalty fee, but this one's only 4%, I'm going to go with that. Well, unless you know why you're paying for it or what you get for 4% versus what you get for 7%, then what you're doing. So those are not the things that sell it up front. You got to bring people in with the story, the right people into the story.
Yeah, the right people.
And let them probably decide for themselves if they are a proper fit or not. And then I think, just as you say, you know very quickly if somebody's just talking about you. I think most good franchisors that stick in the process, the recruitment process, that make the final decision, that meet, they will know instantly if that person is for them or not. And the person on the other side of the table will go instantly, you're not the person I thought you were going to be. You don't actually represent. This isn't what I wanted. Yeah. But you know what? That's fine. It's a lot of time wasting. It's maybe better if it was all a bit more honest and truly reflected what the business, what the opportunity was. It would have saved everybody a lot of time. But yeah, always better to not bring the wrong person in. Yeah, and not just talk a good talk. Because I've been, like, the amount of times where, like, I've caught a reel or a podcast or something and I'm like, wow, that person's really good, they know their stuff. And then I might start following them on social media, and then I might have bought the book, and then I'm reading the book and I'm like, this is just absolute nonsense. They haven't got a clue. They know enough for that moment, but they don't connect with me enough to kind of show that they actually know what they're talking about as a whole. And I think that's the difference between just putting something out there that shows that you know a little bit about something compared to someone who knows fully their brand, their network, their industry. There's a lot more involved in that. Completely. And that's where it comes back to that kind of like sharing your genuine thoughts and information about a whole industry, your whole sector, everything, rather than just sound bites, which is what I think you will get if we just have a world of AI marketing. You'll get sound bites. Everything will be made to sound really, really positive and like the perfect
in 3 seconds.
In 3 seconds. But as you say, then very quickly you're going, well, that's it. I now know the sum total of this person's knowledge. Yeah. If you are relying purely on AI to come up with the stuff for you, then very quickly people will be like, right, bored. Yeah. I'm kind of like, you go to, like, you think of your favourite comedian and they've got a new tour. John Bishop is really good. John Bishop, right? He was amazing live, just saying. I've not seen him, but yeah, he's a really funny guy, right? But so you've gone to John Bishop and you're like, love that guy, he's amazing. Are you going to go every night of the tour? No. No, because very quickly you'll here's it all. Hang on. He's literally laughing in the same place as if it's the same. It's very scripted. So, but it has to be. I mean, you can't just turn up and like make up a whole show for 2 hours. Why not? Well, I don't know. You need to be. I think Billy Coley might have used to. I mean, I'm going to see something at the end of the month, and that is completely improvised, based around Jane Austen. So every night is different. So why can't comedians? All right, then they can, they need to have their. They need to up their game, Andy. Well, you should have their game. But essentially, I just mean that. No, I know what you mean. You very quickly be like a bit. Oh, that's taking the magic away. Yeah. I think I'm probably the same thing if you went to see the same band play every night. That eventually it would just be like, oh, okay. I think that's why it's slightly different each time. But I think that is it. If you've just got I've GPT's helped me create these 20 posts. That's my strategy. Yeah. Well, it might have taken you a long time if you genuinely written 20 posts or articles, but it doesn't take people very long to read them. So if somebody's interested in your franchise, they will very quickly consume all of your marketing. Yeah. And then about, right, what's next? Because they're not done after the week that they spent with it. No. They spent reading your website, your franchise prospectus, your listings, doing a bit of research. That's it, you've exhausted it. Yeah. But the people that have some sort of, aren't just saying the same thing over and over and over again, but actually have something worth saying, they're the ones I think that are going to win. bringing us all back to storytelling.
Storytelling is very important. And it's been
Beginning,
really
the middle,
interesting.
and an end.
Beginning, the middle, and the end. If you need the right beginning, which is the hook,
Yes.
the story throughout, and then the ending, which is the call to action. We can do this together, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Make the reader the hero of the story, not you.
Do you know what? Not right. I know you're trying to bring it to a lovely close, but that is actually the bit that I think is the difference between getting somebody that this is their job to craft a story and just sort of doing it yourself and not really understanding, or especially using AI. They all forget you're not writing it for yourself.
No.
You're not writing it for your team. You're
No.
not writing it for the people who already know this stuff. You're not writing it for your colleagues. You're writing it for that audience. So if you don't know the audience, then put your pen down and see you do.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Andy, thank you so much. It's been really interesting.
It has. I'm going to need to find an Apple store and buy Paul a new phone now. Yeah.
It's all right.
It's
all
been
good.
a pleasure. Nice to talk to you. Thanks for coming to Sunday-ish, Danny.
Funny.
Nice to have you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Welcome.